One viewer said she wasn't sure if we were kidding when we said what we said about not knowing anything. Well, it's not that we don't know anything. It's that we don't know anything absolutely. And again, we've said this a number of times, that when you say you know something, we say the word K-N-O-W is really an absolute state. To know, that means you can, there's no possibility it could be any other way than your knowing. I mean, you completely, your cup of knowing overflows, and you know absolutely. It's an absolute state. And we say nobody can make that claim about anything. The most obvious, if I pick this handkerchief up and drop it, if I let go of it, will it hit the floor? I know it will hit the floor. No, I don't. A tornado could come out of nowhere and blow the top of the house off and suck the handkerchief up into the sky and never see it again.
Or I could switch on the fan over here and it would just blow across the room.
And plaster itself against the wall. There must be some fan you got. Super
right.
Turbo.
It's one of those wind machines.
Or an asteroid could hit the Earth and suspend gravity. And of course that's really nitpicking. But it's not when you look at our message overwhelmingly. What we're trying to do, I think this whole show is about, is what is going on here? What is this mystery called life? What is happening? We all know we're hurtling toward inevitable death. We're not going to be here forever, to put it mildly. But we're on this little planet in this titanic universe that just stops your mind when you think about it just a little bit. It's so huge. And nobody's ever sent a postcard from beyond death. We really don't know where we came from. And the truth is, we don't even really know who or what we are. Yeah, you can classify us as animals or descendants of Adam, if you will, or, whatever. But all that's belief and faith and partial knowledge. We don't really know. The greatest scientist who's ever lived doesn't know what one dot of matter is, or wave or particle or whatever. So this show is called A Question of Meaning because we're pursuing meaning. We're looking for purpose. What is the purpose of life? What is this all about? I mean, to us, it seems like a pretty, relevant question. Since here we are, our train's broken down on planet Earth.
Well, now a skeptical person, Arthur, would say, okay, you just finished going through this, exploration, saying we don't know anything, and we can't know anything
absolutely.
Because we're absolutely limited.
We can't know absolutely.
So then
anything other than something's happening at my location.
Okay, but then the show is about questions of meaning and asking what's the meaning of things. Well, what's the point if we can't know anything absolutely?
That if you're lost in the woods and being tracked by a Kodiak grizzly with a fierce appetite and sees you as a center-cut pork chop on legs, but you think, and it's just a matter of time till the monster bear catches up with you, but your reality is that life's just for living. If we all make that full circle, an apple every 8 hours keeps 3 doctors away. Death and taxes, that's it. We know all we need to know. Why make a fuss about the meaning of it all? I think it would behoove us, O skeptic, whoever you are, to kind of get in touch with the fact that we are being relentlessly stalked by death, and that we don't really have a clue what we're doing or what's going on. We don't even know the bear's out there. Most of us take death and compartmentalize it, just like that piece of meat on the end of our fork. Here it comes. We don't like to think about where that came from or the process involved in having it nicely wrapped in a cellophane and delivered as a center-cut pork chop. We don't want to hear the squeals, the death squeals.
So you say I think you're saying that there is some kind of.
What am I saying?
There's interim knowledge.
Yes.
And we should never confuse that interim knowledge with absolute knowledge.
Well, we do it all the time. Most of us make a life career out of doing that.
But I guess what I'm saying is, this skeptic doesn't say, okay, well, if you can't know anything absolutely, then all knowledge is worthless. That's not what you're saying here.
I think it's really important to objectively quantify what we know, what we can know, and what we don't know. The ancient Eastern aphorism, he who knows doesn't know, but he who doesn't know knows. You actually know something. You know you don't know. And what happens when you recognize what you don't know, that state is called humility, which opens yourself to receptivity and to question and to learning, a state of receptivity where you are enormously more empowered than walking around with half knowledge thinking it's all you need to know. Or the truth is, the way the ego works is I know it all. I know it all. It becomes life on automatic pilot. By the time you're 16 years old, I mean, most adolescents are such pains in the rear end because they're not clever enough yet to hide the fact that they know it all. When you get to be an adult, you say, oh, of course I don't know everything. But look how we act. Look how fixed the behavior patterns become. Look how resistant to change we become. And I'm talking about me, babies. I ain't preaching. And that's because we think we know all we need to know. We don't need to know anything else. A new dog, new tricks. Old dog, new tricks. That's exactly what that means. So the more we are in touch with how titanically limited our knowledge is, how infinitesimal our knowledge is, like the brain that hasn't been utilized yet, the amount of brain tissue up there that's just sitting there dormant. Could be well be because who needs to utilize anything else? I know pretty much all I need to.
Kind of switched off. Right. So right. 'Cause I guess what I'm just saying is it sounds sometimes like maybe
I'm not hearing
what other people are hearing you say is basically that we know nothing. So all knowledge is worthless. And I think what you're saying is there's a progressive nature of knowledge, and at any given point, we need to recognize the limitations of our knowledge at that point.
God, I hope so. I mean, George Bush was president of this country for 8 years. I mean, if that isn't an example of limited knowledge,
well, I like using astronomy as an example of progressive knowledge. Like I said, over 100 years ago, we thought that what we saw in the sky was the whole universe. There was about 3,000 stars, and that was it. And then
that's all you see on a clear night. In the desert, you see 3,000 or 4,000, maybe.
75 years ago or so, Edwin Hubble, was that his first name? Edwin Hubble made the discovery of a galaxy, of another galaxy. I guess he saw Andromeda. So
that hazy patch up there turned out to be an island universe.
All of a sudden, we realized, no, that's not all the stars. So our understanding went from, there was only 3,000 stars to, we are in an isolated galaxy. So our understanding of what the universe is has expanded out. But now we say, the universe is 13 billion years old and started in a Big Bang, and there's this many, galaxies that we can see, and we think we know what's really true. And that's what Arthur, I think, is saying is, okay, yes, maybe our knowledge has progressed, our understanding of the universe has progressed. It's more true. Our knowledge of the universe is more accurate, somewhat, but maybe only a tiny baby step more accurate now than it was 100 years ago. We think it's vastly more accurate.
We think we're coming in on the grand unified theory.
And what Arthur's saying is, let's have a little humility here. What we don't know is probably vastly more than the little we do know.
That's what I'm saying is what we don't know hurts us.
Yeah.
It's like we think self-hatred, for example, is universal. The source of all fear is the unknown. We don't know who we are. So we're necessarily afraid of who we might be. We know on a very, very deep level that our entire edifice of ego, this personality presentation that we walk around in promoting for a lifetime, who we maximally identify with as us, the real me, we haven't a clue what that is. And we know on some level that it's false, it's phony, it's an act, it's fake. And, it's totally inevitable, it's totally appropriate, but it might be a good idea to kind of realize the limitations of our knowledge about ourselves. Mm-hmm. Because if I don't know who I am, I'm afraid of what I might be. And we say many times on this show, what you fear, the basis of all fear is the unknown. The basis of all hatred is fear. If you're afraid of it, you hate it because it's a threat. It's the unknown, and it might hurt you. It might compromise your survival, to put it mildly.